Hey everybody, before we get started, I just want to remind you this episode is brought to you by our patrons, like Ahagar Comics, Qua, and Nestor Flores. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it would really help us out. Thanks for your support, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, the classic click thank you. Hey everybody, welcome to Let's Talk FGO. I'm one of your hosts, Omega. With me as always is Lucky, and we are the sins of sleepiness.
Wouldn't that make a sloth?
Shh, it's funnier this way.
Alright, fine. Anyway, I hope everyone is enjoying Fate Grand Order, aka Living on the Edge. And while we here at Studio Make like to bring you the latest FGO related news and memes, we will be talking about current and future events for both the JP and EM version of the game. So anyone not wanting spoilers should just go fall into despair while someone maniacally laughs.
And if we were doing hi-fi episodes, somebody would have forgotten to insert Dante's laughing in there. But it could have happened.
It could have happened.
Unfortunately, I don't have a
button
button
for
for that.
Me more to send a sleepiness because I'm on my second energy drink right now.
Yeah. And I've on it. Well, in general, I haven't been sleeping great, but my sleep's been kind of chaotic the last couple of days, especially.
Oh yeah.
So that's always a little concerning. But anyway, hey, we're here. We're alive. We're doing Let's Talk FGO, and I have no idea how long the show's gonna be because luckily we managed to write a lot of stuff. I was looking at it yesterday and I was like, "Oh, we don't have a lot of stuff," and then I was like, "Oh, that's because you haven't written some of the stuff, dumbass.
Good job.
You need to write notes." But I figure we can go ahead and move on and check in with everybody's favorite Kohai, Mesh.
Senpai, 起きてください.
That's right, everybody. It's time for Wake the Fuck Up Senpai, our regular segment for pro tips. So here's a basic one, which hopefully we have not reiterated. But I said this to Lucky before we were recording, that I believe no one has yet to call us out on repeating a pro tip, so I think we're okay. Almost 75 episodes, no repeats. So, basically this year, we're gonna have a lot of reruns, and we, as your esteemed hosts of Let's Talk FGO, are not interested in reiterating things we've already said, probably because we have forgotten them, but we have been going since launch. You could go back to, I don't know, a couple weeks after the game started, and that's when we recorded our first episode, and there's a little bit of gap in there, but you know what we mean. We've been doing this since launch. So, you can go back to old episodes and find our thoughts on certain segments. You can be there when we do our pregame, where we walk through certain mechanics, and that'll be very helpful if you're looking for tips on reruns that you haven't done yourself yet. But obviously, we're like, and remember when we did that? So we're not going to talk about it again. That's our pro tip for this week. We can also briefly check into Records from the Throne, our regular achievement topic. It's all red today. So, thanks to the Moon Goddess rerun, I was able to protect Ket's Smile, got that final ascension out of the way, and got Merlin to level 90.
Booyah. As Lucky hasn't done anything.
Yeah, honestly, I like, barely squeaked those in, too. It was just, oh, well, I got all the feathers I needed out of the shop, and I got a shitload of EXPs out of the shop, so... And I know for reasons that I'm going to want Merlin later. But now that's taken care of. Let's go ahead and jump into scalograms. How do we want to break this up, do you think? Honestly, most of this stuff is just me. I wrote these down because I figure we need to put them in the main show, but we actually did a news desk update really quick to cover most of these.
Yeah, you can take these. We're going to go back and forth on the fucking stream notes.
Yeah. So, number one, and by the way, last week it was all JP news. This week it's all NA news because JP is currently deeply embroiled in the Prisma rerun. So, NA number one, we got the challenge event incoming, half AP main quests from 120 to 26. Exactly what it says in the tin. Every main quest up to Solomon, which means, I believe it does not include Solomon, will be half AP. Which is important because you need to clear Solomon to access the challenge quest at the finish of the Prison Tower rerun. Hey, speaking of which, the Prison Tower rerun's going on. It started 1/23 and is going on until 2/6, so February the 6th. That's also pretty neat. We got a couple weeks there to do all those Scary Pants quests. And on the 24th, yesterday, there was a stream which we covered, which was kind of mostly about the FGO USA tour. It was also just about ongoing FGO stuff. And good old Albert was there. And we'll talk about the stream in detail in a second. But there was a pre-release campaign, which was 3 Saint Courts for 10k total interactions on Twitter and Facebook, which was easily done. I'm pretty sure literally by the time I got the video uploaded about this campaign, it was done already. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into stream notes, which I took because you were busy playing Warframe and forgot to check it into the stream until you noticed we were all chitter-chattering about it.
Oh yeah, it was like a half-hour run.
Yeah. So let's see. We can just start going down the line. Albert appeared on a new set. And actually, Timby, I comment on this later. It's they have an actual set now. They've got a green screen and a desk. It's not in the break room or in a conference room somewhere, hopefully. But he's got a desk and he's got a green screen. He said that the stream would mostly be focused on the tour, but would have other stuff. He talks about the Prison Tower rerun a bit. Just, hey, this is happening, blah, blah, blah. Here's some stuff. I don't know if I wrote this down, but somebody, when he got to a question and answer section at the end, somebody asked him if he would do more whaling with Albert, and he was like, no, I don't have any quartz right now.
He's saving his quartz for characters who have the same alphanumerics and English and JP.
No, that character's free. He's saving for the one that has really long legs.
Oh, yeah, it's the same event, but... Yeah. Oh, no, he said that one, the one I was talking about was his favorite servant.
Yes.
That's right.
We'll talk more about Albert's ability to dodge NDAs later. Though he did actually explicitly use the NDA word on stream. So then he gets into an actual announcement, thank goodness. Which is the 5 million downloads campaign. That's right, it's time for our 5 million downloads. It's got a 5-part campaign. First off, and the window for the event will run from January 30th, to February 13th. So it's a 2-week window for the event, but not everything will happen over the course of 2 weeks. Like, for instance, Da Vinci's banner, by the way, spoiler, Da Vinci's getting another rate up, is only going to run a week. Or I hope 8 days, because the login system is 8 straight days for getting various rewards in values of 5, with the final one being 5 summon tickets. So, boy, I'd really like those tickets to be able to be applied to the banner if I need them.
Oh my god, I want Da Vinci, but I also want to make checks alter.
Yeah, you got stuff to worry about. Also, I believe during this entire campaign, half AP doors.
Need that QP, bitches?
Which people were all super excited about. During this time, the chance of great and super success will be doubled. We're going to switch over our daily login reward. It will no longer be Mr. Bones' Wild Ride. We are switching to Void Dust.
Don't snort it, you need that shit.
Void Dust. I hope you enjoyed Bones while it lasted. Honestly, I could have done with another couple months of Fangs, but that's just me.
Like, honestly, I remember when we started this game, we were all like, what the fuck was all this Void Dust? And now we're here, it's all like, God, give me more Void Dust. Now we're getting it.
You need a lot of Void Dust.
Yeah. Like, you don't know what you got until it's gone.
No, I still have hero proofs.
That's why they stopped giving us them.
Also, the Royal Brand quest will be added back to the RP shop, the one that was with XL Zero Order. So basically, you can buy that back for a rare prism and get that Mystic Code if you need it.
I've been using it. It's not bad, actually.
No, it's not terrible.
I used it to fuck up Fergus, because he was all like, evade. I was like, nah, I got sure hit on this code. Fuck you.
And also, as we mentioned, Da Vinci's banner will return for about a week, and also her interlude is being added.
Oh my god, I'm not Da Vinci. I need, I think Da Vinci's the only, SSR caster I don't have.
Rip.
Wait, no. Well, she's one of the SSR casters I don't have.
And then we had a long segment where he got into talking about the tour. So he reiterated lots of various info about the tour dates and the key visual, which we've already covered. So I think that was last week we went ahead and outlined all the tour dates and locations. Once again, look to last week's episode of What's Up, which is tastefully titled, What is Time? Because we don't fucking know. Albert cannot explicitly say what the memorial monument is for some reason, but obviously it's the Throne of Solomon. Like,
Bring flowers and cake.
He's not subtle, but he's like, I can't explicitly tell you what it is, but you should know what it is because it's the thing that's going to make you sad. So I'm like, okay, everybody knows what it is. There's going to be the NP display area we talked about, which has some which returned from Japan, like there's Gil's Enema Elish, which lights up and spins. But some are new for the USA. Apparently, we're getting an exclusive Excalibur Morgan. and some other stuff there that'll be props exclusive to the US, or at least first of premiering in the US. Also, much to the astonishment of our chat, who were all watching along live because this was an English stream, Golden Bear will be there, and it will be life-size. You can ride it.
Are we actually going to let people get on it? That's the thing.
That's what Albert said, that you could ride it.
Wow.
Because it's a photo op area. So,
please don't let anyone do anything stupid. Oh
well, it's not a functional motorcycle, so they said that you can't ride it. It's in that you can't drive it around. It doesn't go places.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking like someone like actually gets on and like knocks it over or something.
I am sure it will be like concreted in place or something.
I hope so. But I do remember, like, I came in around like that time, and people are like, "Oh my god, there needs to be like so many like Ryder Kentucky cosplays, just so they can get on that thing." It's like the perfect opportunity.
Yeah. Speaking of which, there's an augmented reality photo booth where you can do fun stuff, like you can take a picture and get like a servant card border around your picture. Lots of other stuff like that. There will be a stage for the kigurumis, basically the mascot versions of everybody, where there'll be stage for photos and stuff. Albert could not say explicitly which characters would be there, but I expect that Gurako will be there, because Albert joked about cosplayers are going to ask her to step on them.
At the very least, I'm pretty sure it's going to be MASH and Gurako.
Yeah, probably. And then the question is, will Da Vinci be there? Which could be. And then is Altera going to show up? Because that was a big deal at like the 3rd anniversary. Will Saber show up? She's usually at these events, stuff like that. Yeah. And where was that? Oh, he cannot give explicit details on what merch is there. Later, we had Albert QVC, and he talks about some exclusive products to the tour, which we'll cover in a second. But he could not tell you the details of what the store is, which is sad. This is a complaint I generally had in the stream, that Japan seems a little bit backwards about this store merch stuff. Like, the whole physical... Lucky, would you agree with me if I said that we both think that physical exclusivity, like going to a physical location in this day and age, is really dumb, especially in this country?
I don't think it's especially dumb, but I think it's dumb that it's that, because like for example, let's say like what I would do, like for my personal sense, I would make I don't like that the item is only available at this one location. Like, I can understand if like they had like they set up the physical booths and the prices were somewhat like, discounted, and then they moved everything to the full price in an online store. Yeah.
So what basically, where to put a finer point on it, I think both of us do agree on this aspect, that like the idea that you can only get the merch at a single physical location with no kind of like online store option is not good. And despite what some people have said, that doesn't actually drive people to buy tickets. People don't buy tickets just so they can get exclusive merch. They like, because it's so expensive to go to these events anyway, that like it's something you do.
I don't know, but I will say though,
cash anyway. Like, I know some people usually like to be like, I gotta make sure I got a little bit of spending money so I can spend money at these events. But like, I don't think that's ever made anybody go, oh, I need to spend like $400 to go to this event so I can spend $25 on a t-shirt. No, that is not how human beings work.
Well, actually, it doesn't quite work that, but it does kind of work. Because, as I said, like, because it's more the mind, it's like, I'm here,
right?
But I'm here, and there's the stuff that I can only get here, so I better buy it here.
Yeah, I guess there's kind of some of that, but that isn't actually going to drive up ticket sales, and I don't know if that necessarily makes any extra profit over than, like, buying it. Because, honestly, even if it's not exclusive, I talked about this in chat, shipping is a real pain in the ass for everything that's not Amazon, right?
Yeah. And as I said, that's also, and shipping also, and part of that is because fucking companies have to like deal with the shipping costs too. That's why like things costing. Yeah. But that's the interesting thing about selling on site is you kind of go around that. All you basically have to do is transport the product, and then you can sell it at like somewhat inflated prices and get a bit more out of it. Because guess what? If it's a limited exclusive thing, you're only going to get it there. That means it's a rare item, which means people are like Like people are more like, I don't, like, oh god, like
basically, I think you've got good points about what will make people buy the people are going to buy the merch that's at the event. I disagree with the point that like they're going to lose ticket sales to the event because the merch isn't exclusive. No. There's a strategy to sell the merch exclusively at a physical event. I just don't think it's actually going to hurt. It wouldn't necessarily hurt their bottom line future to sell some select items on an online store.
And it's like, it makes sense on business-wise to have these physical things, because but, like, it's not going to affect their participation. It's not going to affect, like, any other thing. It's just literally something that's going to put more money in their pocket, which, you know, is kind of thing that business is. What I can't, like, understand is, like, why, like, does Aniplex even have an online store?
I don't know. And I don't think Aniplex knows, because people asked Albert about this, and he's like, You
see, that, like, this is the thing that bugs me. It's like, I can understand having, like, physical exclusive stuff, but, like, the fact that they have, like, let me check here. Let me see here. I'm pretty sure. Okay, yeah, they do have an online store. Let me see here.
Yeah, that's right, they do, because they have like a Aniplex Plus service or something, and you can get certain figures that way for FGO.
Yeah, but I think that's like what it is. All it is like fucking figures,
which are all, I believe, at import prices. Obviously,
yeah,
nothing's locally figures, manufactured.
But like, I don't like. I'm not gonna lie. I like figures, but I also like T-shirts, stickers, keychains.
You know? Yeah. I mean, honestly, I need more clothes anyway. So I would love to throw some of that money to be like on a cool.
Oh, by the way, like Aniplex doesn't even host their own stuff. It's hosted through other things like Right Stuff, Tokyo Otako Mode, and Crunchyroll.
So this basically goes back to our original problem, which is Aniplex USA is like a floor or a cubicle. It's not like, maybe at best they are an building, a singular building, right? Like, because we've talked about this before, how Aniplex US has like a very small actual permanent staff. So this could be an extension where like they just don't have the extra like overhead to run a permanent merch store and handle merchandise and warehousing and stuff, which is a shame. And I do hope to God, Aniplex US, if you're listening, and FGO is in fact printing you loads and loads of money, that you turn some of that money into a better infrastructure stateside, please. Because FGO, the Duel is just imported. The figurines are just imported. Like, God, I mean, I know it's a pain in the ass to get stuff across the ocean. Maybe don't get stuff across the ocean. Can you just make freaking T-shirts here in this country? I know you can, like, honestly, because that's what we do.
Like, honestly, just print up like the the keychains, the buttons, like fucking posters, keychains. Buttons,
like, even
posters,
though it's through
T-shirts.
somebody else, like Teespring, which is what our merch store is run out of, is remarkably open-ended. And they eat all the like shipping and production costs. They take a flat like 50% on your sales, but still, like, that's a remarkably open infrastructure, and that's just any Joe Schmo can literally get on the internet and sign up for that. As an actual business with business connections, I am sure you could find a workable solution to make more merch stateside, which people will totally buy.
Yeah, like
everybody wants the card shirts.
Yeah.
It's
like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of like, one reason I want to go to SakuraCon is because I do want to hit the Aniplex booth so I can buy merch.
Mm-hmm.
It's like honestly, like, I know this makes me an outlier, but I'm more interested in going to SakuraCon so I could buy exclusive merch that I can't get anywhere. Because,
well, I mean,
honestly,
that's a decision you're making because I think you have realized that it's not practical to get anywhere, and you plan on having the money because you can do stuff there anyway, right? Because you've gone before.
Yeah, that's the local thing about having a big con like nearby.
It's a lot easier. Also, like I said, it smacks once again of not understanding the American ethos, which is a problem our JP overlords have struggled with, and we want them to think about. Hey, internet, you can Google a comparison map and find a map where somebody transposes the entire islands of Japan on a map of America. Hey, guess what?
It just fits in the Midwest.
Yeah, it basically you could tuck Japan away in flyover country, and you would still have both eastern seaboards, both mountain ranges, all the Great Lakes and stuff. Like, there's a shitload of space here. Okay, like to put it in comparison, if you're European, the continental U.S. is about the size of the entire continent of Europe. Like, if you transpose them, it's something like, driving to or flying to the eastern well, not the easternmost, but like the westernmost parts of Russia is to like Spain or Portugal is the equivalent of crossing the entire U.S., which is one country. We're big here, okay? Like, I think if I remember rightly, I think like the entire Texas will eat up like most of Central Europe if transposed. We're huge. Actually, I bet I didn't do that comparison because that's not where the maps are. But I'm wondering if the entire islands of Japan would fit inside just Texas.
That's a scary
possible.
thought.
Texas is huge.
By landmass, probably.
Yeah, not literally like
like
end to end. Definitely square mileage though.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
so
one of the,
like
you know, the big problem,
America's huge, guys.
like this is actually one of the things that like speaking of that, like came to mind. Because they have the fucking U.S. like road trip. And I was thinking about like road trips are a very fucking American thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you will spend hours driving just to get from one state to another.
Days.
And not like even if you're going like through multiple states, you got weeks ahead of you.
Yeah, I've said this before, and I think I've talked about it on WhatsApp. And hey, if you care about our road trip stories, let us know. We'll tell them on WhatsApp. But for a long time, because I have relatives in the state of Indiana, that's where my dad's side of the family's from, so I have people who live up there. And I think I lived in the state a little bit when I was super tiny, but I don't remember, so it doesn't matter. But pretty regularly for several years, the season kind of depended, but every year or couple of years, we would take a road trip up from whatever state in the southeast we were in, because that's about where I spent most of my that's where I spent the entirety of my adult life and most of my adolescence. And we would drive up to Indiana. That takes a long time. That's like, there were a couple times, well, there was one time at least where we did it all in one day where it was like 16 hours. It was like, we got up before sunrise and it was well after sunset by the time we got there. But family trips were usually 2 days. And you have to like, if you're in Florida, you have to crawl up the entire length of Florida. You have to get all the way up into Georgia, and somewhere, once you get past about Atlanta, you can find a motel somewhere and take a break for the night. It's long.
Yeah, and so it's just one of those things, because like Europe, yeah, I mean, you can road trip in Europe, but like you're going across like multiple countries, like not just like states, countries.
Yeah, which I think slows down the process a lot.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not as much with some of the EU regulations, but there's at least got to be some kind of like, checkpoint thing where like, hey, hi, I'm from this country, here's my passport, we're just passing through. Whatever. Nothing to declare for customs, right?
I don't know.
There's got to be some level of, in this day and age, there's got to be some level of security theater, which is just like, are you doing anything wrong? No? Okay.
It's like you can hit like multiple countries a day. Like in America, you can go for like days drive and no one will fucking stop you.
No, you can just drive through the highway. We have rest parks where you can explicitly park your car to rest.
And I guess that's another thing. It's like, because like when driving the U.S., like you got to remember, U.S. is developed around water sources. Like once you get away from like the coastals, like the coasts, you're gonna find fuck all.
Yeah, there's a reason why we call the entire middle chunk of the country flyover country, because it's nothing but fields and rocks and stuff that you want to fly over.
I mean, it's serene and sometimes it's fucking majestic, like fucking Montana. Man, I want to live in Montana.
Oh yeah, no, some of like the rocky bordering states are like super scenic.
Yeah, like Colorado and like Wyoming, Montana. But like once you hit between anything from like the Rockies to the Mississippi,
yeah, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Oklahoma. I mean, the Dakotas are very rocky, so they're probably picturesque, but they're more up north. But like that big chunk of those squarish states in the center that are not desert and mountains, they're just rolling plains. They get a little repetitive.
Yeah. But it's like definitely like that road trip kind of thing. So I actually like do applaud like their concept, like all right, we're gonna make like an American exclusive event. What's kind of really fucking American?
Well, and honestly, it sounds like, because
Road
they talked
trips.
about the key visual, like, it sounds a bit like Albert and some of his team had some input on making it a very Americanized picture. Mary's in it, and she has a "What's Up, My Homies" shirt on. That was something that our team insisted as, like, a detail, because that's NA specific as a translation.
And people are screaming they want that shirt.
I said it. I threw it in Twitch chat. That's why I couldn't ask about your mats for a while, because I was like, "Hey, can I, Albert? Can I buy that shirt? That What's Up shirt?"
Yeah.
We'll see.
So, like, yeah, and like I said, like getting everyone together, getting into camping, going on the road, camping wherever you can. That's fucking hell of American.
America.
It's like meat, guns, and driving a lot. God, American is such a driver's culture. Fuck. That's something that I really wish our public transportation was a bit better, but guess what? We got so much land to cover, and that shit costs money.
Logistics.
Yep.
Everybody loves logistics. That's a discussion for another point. Anyway, Albert talks about the various panels that will happen at the opening event, which is basically just, there's one panel at the pre-show day, which is him and Satoshi, the voice actor for Ration stuff. I'm expecting there will be another live Stella, because Albert was talking about that. So, yeah. If you've not seen that, look up that clip. It's still great.
I can't wait for it in Camelot.
Yeah, that movie's gonna be great. Let's hope. And then he kind of outlined the 3 panels that'll come on the following day, which is basically about what you'd expect. The first one is about the upcoming Babylonian anime. The second one is supposed to be more about talking to kind of about her experiences in FGO and in Fate in general, etc. And then the third one is kind of like a general FGO panel, because the creative director for part 1 of FGO will show up, Shiokawa. And no, Albert doesn't remember what his job title is either. He had to ask somebody off camera. Next we got Albert QVC. He did reveal some exclusive merch that'll be for the tour. There's going to be an FGO USA logo tee. There's going to be a license plate themed sticker, and there's going to be a wall scroll of the FGO Rio art from AX, the exclusive art we had for our first anniversary key visual. Will be available as a wall scroll. Or, since I'm sure that art exists digitally on the internet, you can probably go to a print-on-demand shop and make your own fucking wall scroll, but don't do that, because I'm sure that's piracy. I'm just talking about how in this infrastructural environment, it's really easy to make things anyway. I'm just a small internet businessman. Trying to make his way in the world. Actually, I should double-check. Because you were like, you need to take lessons from Albert. I'm chilling, and I'm like, draw me a wall scroll, motherfucker. I'll sell a wall scroll if you make it. I don't know if we can actually do wall scrolls, though.
Probably not.
I should at some point, also not just because I need shirts, but I should, like, buy a couple of our own shirts, because we get a large discount, and maybe I'll shoot video filming them as a commercial. Check out our sweet shirts. By the way, we have a Teespring. In case this conversation hasn't indicated that to you, you can buy t-shirts from us. Help Lucky buy a new fan or power supply or whatever the fuck is wrong with his computer. Buy our shirts.
It's something magical.
That'll probably come up in WhatsApp too. We're letting you know that WhatsApp is going to be very interesting this week. It also might be a little bit delayed for reasons, because we did mention, I think we mentioned last week, we didn't talk about the details of what it was, because I think that would give too much away, but we are planning on collabing with Voice again, and we're thinking we're going to do that tomorrow as of the time of recording, so that'll either be the day this is live, or the day before this went live on YouTube, I don't know, somewhere in there. But that's going to be a fun 4 hours. I joked about that on his stream, because there was that whole Voice getting arrested by the police, which is a portmanteau of lolly police, by the way. Where I joked, if you need him to talk, just get the chisel. And then I immediately followed up with a rim shot. Who am I kidding? Voice never stops talking. Ba-dum-pa. And then I was like, incoming 4 hours of collab recording. With the subtle implication that it's not entirely his fault, but it's mostly his fault, because he asks us to do these things. Okay, so that's that. Albert's adorable whale plushies return. They're thrown at him. Yeah. So here's some interesting news. So FGO VR MASH is coming February 26th. That's just after the event, I think. Which will have a VR booth, by the way, if you want to try it out. and it's free if you have a $300 VR headset.
You know, I'm okay with that because it's still fucking free.
Yeah, no, that's good. Like, that's good that the product is free because the barrier to entry is very costly.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no.
I mean, there's a lot of VR shit out there that is not free. So,
but so it's good that it's free. So if you do have a PSVR, you can download that on that date and check it out. And
I'm gonna
record a
download it
Let's
anyway.
Play of you doing something dumb. And in 2 years, when we're fully funded and we own our own PlayStation Pro with PSVR and webcams and stuff, we'll shoot a video of finally trying it, and you can watch Lucky try and look up Mash's skirt or something. I volunteered Lucky for this, by the way, because I feel inherently that he will be more expressive with the VR than I will.
I can't even deny trying to look up her skirt either.
There's all.
Look at
I
her,
mean,
look at her.
How old's Mash supposed to be again? I ask in a
I
broken
don't
tone of voice
know.
because, boy howdy, this trailer. In certain states of the Union, they might get you arrested. Luckily, there's no laws in Antarctica.
Well, actually, fun fact, here in Washington State, legal age of consent is 16 as long as you're not in a position of authority over them. Yes, I looked this up.
I think you're fine. But, like I said, there's some states of the Union where some of these things would not go on. It's like you're doing a training session, there's like exercise balls. There's also a scene where she changes behind the screen. I'm pretty sure people have done like wall hacks so that you can see around it and nothing is actually interesting going on. But still, like, the context.
I don't need to see, like I like the thrill of, oh my gosh, she changes right there. What the fuck?
The context is a little
It's like, I don't need to actually see nudity. Just tease me.
And also, as of the time of this recording, I don't think we've got it yet because they had to like delay it from the server reset. But Albert said that we smashed the goal, obviously, and said that he talked to JP and he got us more quartz. It's 5 quartz instead of 3 because he's trying.
It's progress. Don't hate.
No, it's cool, especially considering that the goal was lowballed already, historically speaking. So that's neat that he was actually able to talk to them and get more quartz. That's cool. Albert doing good work. Albert was asked what class he is, and he said that he was a hamster. No, wait, grand hamster. So, you heard it here, folks.
It is now canon.
First, folks, it's
Forks?
canon, like he says. Albert is grand hamster. Adjust all your meme edits accordingly. People asked if we're gonna get the key visual art as a CE. He said he has no word on that yet. Honestly, I expect, considering they went to all the trouble of drawing it, they probably will.
I don't know. I mean, like, they had the Rio exclusive art. That could have been a fun, like, CE or something.
Yeah, it could have, but I don't know if it was necessary, because, like, they don't necessarily drop CEs for, like,
Yeah,
it
I
was
know.
an anniversary thing, right? Like, that would have been added to our schedule.
Yeah,
but you're talking about completely original events in the US. It's entirely possible they could come up with something.
I don't think it's going to be from the key visual, though. It'd be something different.
I don't know.
But, like, yeah, no, I think I'd like, when someone asked that, I was like, oh my god, that's like a really good question.
Because the art's really good, we should be able to get it in game so you can look at it, whatever.
Actually, I'd be happy with just be able to buy fucking prints of it. Fucking hang it up.
Also that. But hey.
Aniplex online store with fucking art and shit.
Also, hey, it's a digital version, so if they're not going to give it to you, you can go to your local print shit now.
I'm not going to do that.
That's probably for actual, like, turning a digital image into a wall print is probably a pain in the ass. I don't even know if the resolution's that high. Albert wants to stream more. He said he wants to stream like once a month. We'll see if that happens. I mean, if he's gonna be at every one of these tour events, I feel like there might be some trouble getting that done. But yeah, more streams are good, especially in this format.
We're just low back and chill. I mean, you can hear like,
yeah,
think it was the
the
producer.
production staff was behind the camera, so
and they were yelling at him and laughing a lot too. It was great.
yeah, no, it was pretty relaxed. They need maybe a slightly better infrastructure. Like, even though the chat was in followers only and slow mode, you could only say something like every 5 minutes or whatever. It still went by
Didn't
super
help.
fast. So
yeah, it didn't
they were
help
like
that people were repeating the same goddamn thing over.
There
and
was
over.
like lots of like dead air and stuff when he actually did Q&A. Well, because they had to like curate questions. But that's
like people were asking about CCC. People were asking if NA would catch up to JP. People were asking about are we getting something early a lot. I'm like,
all these questions he can't answer because, like I said earlier, he explicitly used the NDA word at the start. So yeah, no, he literally can't. He's not allowed.
yeah, and As it is my complaint as usual, people just can't get that through their head.
No, listen, guys, NDAs are serious news. They can be a little dumb, but once you make the agreement, you can't say shit. So he's not allowed to talk about the schedule ahead of time. Also, it's interesting what I will say it's interesting what he doesn't know, but at the same time, I can see why, because he's not the events coordinator. So he was like, I have no idea if the panels are going to be streamed. If they are, they'll be on the channel. So keep an eye out for that. We'll let people know ahead of time. But he was like, he didn't know. And I'm like, on the one hand, like, that's kind of sad that you don't know Albert because you're the guy stuck on camera giving this news. But at the same time, it's not his job to plan events. So I feel like we need a little bit more hiring and a little bit more streamlining our infrastructure here.
They definitely need to give Aniplex USA FGO localization a bigger budget.
Yeah. He did say that content for the tour will be the same. Guests will probably not. Basically, he said that as far as he knows, the guest list isn't hammered out for future events. So I'm assuming that to me that they're not going to bring back the same people 4 times, except for poor Albert.
They might. Well, who knows? They might try, but again, like VA is like scheduling.
No, they're busy, and they also have JP events obviously on top of this. Like at least that you can be said for Albert. He is technically still doing his job when he shows up to these panels because he is being the MC for the thing that is his department that he's the head of. The NA version of the localization of FGO in North America and abroad. So, like, that's in his wheelhouse. That's not where you can go to your boss and say, "Don't I have something better to do with my job?" And they're like, "No, not really." But for a VA, like, there's other events you could be at and other parts of your career. As much as I know that, like Kana Ued is a huge whale for FGO. Like, she has wailed multiple times for herself. Of course, and more. So, I believe there's stories of there are a couple of voice actors who have gone so deep on FGO they've technically spent more money than they've been paid by the game. So that's always a fun story. Also, Albert, just in general, I want to say, talking about this, he's getting good at talking around his NDA. He cannot explicitly say the CCC event is coming up, but he was able to reference it obliquely multiple times. We talked about how he said that his favorite servant who's not in the game yet is the one who's got 2 letters that are the same. It's BB. He also talked about how he's saving for Melt by talking about legs. And people asked, will we get reference material for future collab events? Very clearly being like, will we get to know more about CCC? And he was like, he wants to do more but can't say specifically on what events he's talking about. But yeah, just in general, the content's really good for the stream.
Mm-hmm. It was good. The stream has definitely come a ways.
Yeah. And I will say this, like, as people who do an extended podcast, parts of which are live to our audience, our patrons, but, like, it's a live stream, so it's not like he can edit and take out pauses, or they can, like, take a break or anything. It's all live and happening as, like, a stream, right? As both in terms of the digital information, also kind of like stream of consciousness type stream. So, I totally sympathize where it's like, there were some gaps, or there was some repetition, because, hey, entertainment has spoiled you. That's how people talk. And honestly, we're pretty minimally edited in terms of, like, our speaking. We do cut down on dead air and stuff. If we had, like, an egregious fuck up or something, we would probably slap the button and I'd make some notes to edit some stuff out. But in general, we don't. So I totally sympathize with Albert as, like, a guy live on a camera just talking to the internet. So, yeah, they're doing lots of improvements. And some stuff I don't think will ever get quote-unquote better just because that's the nature of the beast. And I know that some professional streamers get very good at controlling kind of the flow of stuff and getting into it and reading chat quickly and whatnot, but they have nothing else to do with their time. So yeah, I think that's everything we talk about from the stream. Mm-hmm. And yes, there was real news buried in there, so don't go talk to us later when you're like, hey, did you guys not mention 5 million downloads? By the way, 5 million downloads is coming. You can get 5s of stuff. I think there's 5 apples in it, there's 5 tickets, there's like 5 million QP, there's like 5,000 friend points nobody needs, etc. Let's go ahead and roll into free talk then, if we don't have anything else to say about the stream.
Nah, I don't got anything. I'll take this first thing real quick. So, Well, a lot of people consider Fortnite to be the biggest game in the world right now. Apparently, it was not the most talked about one. At least not on Twitter. Twitter recently released a list of the most talked about games, the top 10, and the results kind of surprised a few people. So let me just break it down here. Routine from number 10. Number 10 was Final Fantasy. Number 9 was Overwatch. 8 was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. 7, Ensemble Stars. 6, Ranblue Fantasy. 5, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. 4, Splatoon 2. 3, Monster Strike. 2, Fortnite. And number 1 was Fate Grand Order. Yes. So, like, some people was definitely a little miffed at this. Little people were salty. But when you think about it on Twitter, for one, Twitter and JP is fucking huge.
Yes. No, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. 2, art in JP is fucking huge. Like,
because they were just the kind of game that gathers multiple hashtags to it, and sometimes has the little emote integration with their hashtags and stuff. Mm-hmm. So no.
Like, people will be talking about the news with FGO. People will talk about arts with FGO.
Also, FGO has a habit of when big servants come out, they trend.
Yeah.
Arash Kigal trended the year she came out on release. I believe Merlin trended in the US when his banner was released here. So, FGO is real popular on Twitter.
I'm actually kind of surprised. Like, looking at this list, I'm pretty sure Ensemble Stars is a fucking mobile game. Granblue Fantasy is a mobile game. Mm-hmm. Monster Strike is a mobile game. Mm-hmm. It's like this list is pretty split between like big multiplayer games and mobile games. Because Fortnite's big multiplayer, Splatoon 2 big multiplayer, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds,
and Overwatch is like Splatoon's probably so high because we talked about like JP's really big on Twitter and on art and stuff, and that's a very
you see a lot of
game. And honestly, Overwatch is the same. Like that naturally attracts a lot of fan art and a lot of source filmmaker porn. But anyway,
because here's like I'm not surprised that because fucking Fortnite doesn't really inspire art in people.
Well, I mean, it has. There's a couple people I followed.
It does, but
like, some designs, but it's not the same way. It's just like I thought up a weird costume design for Fortnite. That's it.
Yeah.
Like occasionally people pitch skin ideas, but like Fortnite doesn't have characters or story or stuff like that you can draw. So at least as far as I know, like if people are drawing Fortnite thighs or something, I don't know. Show me those fan arts.
I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie. I've seen a PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds Dojin. So, shit like that
exists. It's the memes, Jack.
But as I said, like, Fate Grand Order is, like, all over the place with, like, character art, story. It's like honestly, that's, like,
lots
like the
of
main...
big, like you've said, they've had, like, a lot of, like, different Twitter trends and hashtags and stuff that crop up.
Yeah.
Which we've talked about.
That's so really cool. That means, FGO, it's all like it's big, y'all. Let's see here. So you didn't write this, but I'm gonna just say real quick. Moon Goddess rerun. It's over. It's done. I literally have like nothing more to add to it.
No,
I farmed a little.
That's literally why I didn't write anything about it.
Yeah,
there's nothing to discuss. I did pretty good on the store.
I did all right on the store.
Didn't give a fuck about the CEs. Like, it's not a great CE. I literally only had one copy from last year, or 2 years ago, or whatever.
I put in enough. I put in enough effort to max limit break it, just because I wanted to like mark that off the fucking checklist. It will not haunt me.
I'm already not haunted.
Mm-hmm.
I came pre-not haunted, so yeah, no, it's like no big deal.
No big deal. Prison Tower rerun thoughts. Like, so I mentioned this earlier and I brought it up, but we already did the pregame on this.
Yeah.
And if you guys need any help, go check out our Let's Talk FGO number 26. That will have our pregame in it.
Also possibly better known as the episode before the time we had voice on. I think that's the first one is alignments.
Oh yeah. Man, that was a spirit to talk. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Good times. But Prison Tower, we're on our what, third day?
Yeah, we should be starting the third day soon.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I think while we were recording, it may have rolled over.
Yeah.
So, yes, third day.
I said, I like, I feel like no pressure, like, doing these challenge quests right now. I have, like, such an inflated ego. It's like, behold, my level 97 with many, many skill levels. I have, like, a 7 for almost every situation. Behold!
Yeah, no, it's a real comprehensive. Like, even, I've been able to even do dumb stuff and still win. Like, I did a team of, for the first day, which was Phantom, because I'm like, alright, there's a lot of ads in this, and then there's an assassin boss, so I'm going to do all casters. It was Wyvern, Merlin, Rhyme, and it took me a little bit longer than I thought it would, because I didn't count on how beefy the middle block was that was also casters, but I was like, oh, that's fine. No problem. And then
Like,
I told this a little bit off mic, but so we're going to the second day with Fergus. I'm like, okay, I'm going to want to use Urale because that's what I used the first time, but there's also mobs, so I'll bring in Ishtar's and AoE, and, well, I mean, I might as well just bring Merlin because I mean, and honestly, if I'm doing an AoE buster, you really want that kind of extra damage anyway, because, like, honestly, on some of these bosses, they'll do it. So I go into the third round, the third wave, with Urale and Ishtar's NPs both up, and Ishtar's got a Buster card also left over, so I'm just like, okay, just shoot. And then I looked away from my phone for like 5 seconds, and then I looked back, and I was done. I'm like, oh, oops. I didn't really think that I would one turn kill him, but I did. And apparently also, you know, took care of the berserkers who were with him. So yeah, it's not a really complex.
Yeah, like I've been
Not
like,
anymore.
Yeah, I really didn't have like I had a little bit of trouble with Phantom because I mistook my the alignments, the class alignments as usual.
Yeah, that happens.
And so I basically went in like for the first 2 rounds, I didn't have like everything I picked the wrong thing. So I'm like, well, I just gotta force this, I guess. So I had to basically fight Phantom with Jean and Mash, and they still just like, nah, we got this, we're good. I'm like,
mm-hmm. So let's see. So tonight is Sloth. So that's Gilderay as a caster, and he does the thing where he lowers servant's NP strength. Okay, that's not gonna be a big deal. Caster, he'll need a rider. Who do I have that's max ascension and a single target rider? Lucha. Oh, that's gonna be fun. Boy, it's real lovely having tools, isn't it, Lucky?
oh yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Also, technically, I don't think we've talked about this. This is not strictly part of the pregame, but we should mention there is a new challenge quest. We've talked about it a couple times where it comes out, but honestly, the challenge quest isn't that complex. It's just you need to beat all 7 days at once. Not all at once, but you know what I mean. It's 7 waves, which are each day's boss wave, basically.
Boss rush. We're gonna get Mega Man on this shit.
Ending in Dantes. So I've said that my plan is to take Jean Alter, Merlin, and then an AoE, maybe like Shakes, because he's AoE and does support. And I'm literally just going to constantly hate my enemies to death, because that's how this works. Also, there's like 3 friggin' rulers in this setup, so the fact that Jean Alter actually gets class advantage, which didn't exist yet, I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah, that's right, because Dantes was the first Avenger ever, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, like, oh boy. Having actual units in classes is great. I could I could throw in Gorgon as an AoE Avenger too, because I have multiple toolkits and just try some stuff.
Oh my god. Give me fucking gallbladder. She is
Yeah,
literally waiting.
Yeah, I need gallstones. It sucks. We've been told that gallstones are in the Valentine's shop, which makes us happy. Because, goddamn. Mats hurts. Sometimes. But yeah, so basically, if this is your second time doing the event, you should have no problem with the challenge quest. If this is your first time doing the event, you may have problems with the challenge quest, but just, get ready to hold on. Because, I'm pretty sure the first time I did Dantes, I did like a crazy meme setup with Urale as so with level 70 Urale and some support, I was able to clear this all out, and I didn't have my own waiver or anything at this point. So it should be plenty doable with lower rarity servants if you need to. But the beauty is the challenge quest gives you a decent chunk of XP and some mats, but also gives you 3 whole tickets, which is great because Da Vinci's coming back, and I need those tickets.
Oh my god. I need to save for Image Alter. Like, I've been, like, curbing my desire to roll by throwing, like, single tickets out. Like, I threw, like, a single ticket on, like, on Hassan. I could throw a single ticket on Dantes. I'm like,
I actually threw a single ticket on Dantes, too, just because I was like, how many tickets do I have? Because Moon Goddess gave you a few, and I opened it up, and I'm like, ooh, I've got 6. Let's make that 5, a nice round number. I got a 3-star servant, I think. One of the assassins.
Well, when I rolled on Dantes, I got Jin K. So I was like, can't even be mad.
And so I was like, okay, whatever. It wasn't terrible. Couldn't worse. Wasn't Mapo Tofu, so. Or wasn't, what? Which one is it? Is it, hold on, I gotta look up the name of the CE. Yeah, it's Bygone Dream. God damn it. Get out of my life, Bygone Dream. I'm seeing that one all the time. I can't wait until that goes in the Friend Point Vault forever. And I will, for patrons and stuff, I'll share the image. But the rest of you, internet, can just Google what Bygone Dreams is. But I'm like, I see this all the time. I've got it max limit broken already because, theoretically 25% up on an assassin's NP is not terrible. If I have to do like a budget comp. But it's just, I've max limit broken already, so game, you can stop giving them to me. You can stop now. But yeah, so the rerun's pretty fun. And actually, I think we've got some video capture to this. This was back before our hardware situation kind of went tits up, so I might have done some recordings of me actually doing these runs you can look up. Lucky, do you have any more Prison Tower rerun thoughts?
Not really. Like, as I said, like, I've been completely, like, futzing my way through this, like, and I'm still making it somehow, so.
Yep.
I guess, like, the real challenge is just gonna be that last day where I have to, plan for the long haul. I might just be a dick and just go, like, an art stall team and just be like, I can take 99 turns, fuck you.
Mm-hmm. Your motherfucking life ends 30 turns from now. But yeah, no. Like, honestly, this event was maybe a little complex the first time, but it's not so bad now.
Yeah.
If you've been playing the whole time, I can imagine there might be some newer players who have them more problematic, but this is still in like partway through the first year of FGO, I should say. So, like, it's only about a year old.
I always I know it's like there's a word for it, but I can't think of it. But it always kind of like shocks me when I'm like, oh yeah, people like there's a lot of people who haven't played it day one, so I can't place my experiences like against theirs because honestly, I've been playing.
It's a lot of what are now our longtime fans even haven't been because they, it took them a while to get into our show. So
yeah, so it's just like, oh yeah, no, you guys haven't been here, so you guys might not like have the resources or the experiences available. And every once in a while, I have to check myself and remind me of that because your experience
because that's gonna get worse. I think and honestly, that's something I think I've seen with some current JP players who have been like JP players for a long time. They're not really jaded, but they have very like specific expectations from playing the game so long. Like even now, some people are like, "Oh, you can just cruise the entire story with supports," and you kind of can, but that doesn't help you after the story is done in JP. You need your own tools, which the game does not necessarily give you in a short time frame. So,
no. Like, people, like, just starting off, like, now, man, they literally have to get through, like, what, is it 8 or 7 chapters?
Well, technically it's 9, because prologue.
Oh, prologue, yeah, that's right.
So yeah, there's 9 separate story chapters, basically, or maps, that you have to clear.
Yeah.
Now, right now, there is, like, 2 weeks of half AP, which is great for catch-up. And eventually, I don't know when, actually, it'll happen, but at some point, Part 1 story becomes permanently half AP.
Yeah.
Which JP frequently downgrades to 1/4 AP. So, like, in terms of resources, catch-up isn't hard. It's just finding the right servants and the right comps and all that stuff. Getting your rolls out.
Yeah, like, cause, like with event reruns and stuff, like, cause you only get, like, so many Holy Grails. And, like, if you're running, like, something more free-to-play, those Holy Grails become a very important resource.
And honestly, so are crystallized lores. Like, you and I, just because of the QP costs, are rolling in lores because it's really friggin' expensive to use them, and we've done decent amounts of completionism at most events of the game, right? So,
Yeah.
and even reruns will usually give you like an extra lore one way or another. So we have a decent stockpile. If you're relatively new and you've just missed events, it's the same. Like you can use rare prisms if you're throwing money away to replenish your lores, but if you've missed games of playing, it's like, yeah, no, you can't actually catch up on that front. Those lores literally don't exist.
The only reason I think I could play like games like FGO, Azure Lane, and not Grand Blue Fantasy, and Girls Frontline is that I've been playing them like almost since launch, so I have not like yet missed something exclusive. Because
that's one of the reasons why I always feel so rough about, like, other than just, physical like storage concerns and like finding the time to play JP. Like, I don't feel like jumping into a game that I can't understand the UI and just going with whatever I get. Like, I don't feel like I can be happy-go-lucky about it. I feel like I would be frustrated because it would be like, there's a 2-year gap between my NA account, which, while not perfect, is doing pretty good, and then my brand new JP account, which would be like, so, yeah, okay, you gave me shitloads of quartz for all that stuff, and I'll get loads and loads of quartz for later stuff, but what do I do with it? What am I getting out of this, right? Not that I have anything against. I know several people actually in our community have actually jumped to like casual JP accounts to kind of like just play in their spare time, roll some servants, see what they can do. Most of which have been immediately cockblocked by Story and Mats. But they're trying to take it casual. I just don't know if I could do that.
No, I'm playing three mobile games. Like, one, like, super seriously, one, like, semi-seriously, one is just, and the third one's hanging on by a thread.
It's Girls Frontline, in case you can't tell.
I
We were so excited for that, and now we're not, because it's not very good. But
honestly,
we're going to talk a lot about that on What's Up, I think, because, man, did this event in Girls Frontline really bring some thoughts to the fore.
Like, again, I blame this mostly on the fact that Azure Lane came out.
And Azure Lane is really, really good. What?
Yeah.
That's also, because I've been thinking about that a lot with this stuff. Azure Lane is really, really good about some things, but we've had this back and forth a lot lately about how the story's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like, the writing is not necessarily super consistent, and doesn't always make sense, because I think I phrased this best as they wanted to write gritty, war is hell, everything sucks, and everybody dies stories, but they also wanted to write cute, slice of life, just chilling out with the commander and ship girls go to school on the beach for some reason stories, and they have done absolutely nothing to explain why those cross over. And they don't want to, because they want to keep them separate. And I'm just like...
And then Girls Frontline is like, nah, shit, this is dark and gritty and war is hell.
Yeah, no, that's just war sucks all the time.
Yeah.
Which is fine, it works for me. It's a little bit of a drag, because it's constantly like, and what terrible soul-rending conflict will occur this week? But still, it at least has a consistent tone and consistent writing.
Yeah.
I think I said that too, that like the backdrop story of Girls Frontline is actually very well written and very well explained. Like, every little thing I think in their setting is explained by some background detail, whereas Azure Lane is a lot more nebulous.
Yeah, and actually, Girls Frontline is getting on track with their slice of life shit. Like when they added the fucking cafe.
Yeah. But like, that at least has context, because that's listening to your T-dolls tell you stories about stuff that happened previously. That at least has like a context, which is good.
Yeah, I guess FGO's equivalent would be the interludes.
Yeah. Which are like, not necessarily directly story connected, but usually have some kind of like story milestone in them. And they're mostly just about spending time with
and
the
usually
servants.
It's a fucking dream. God, you go into servant dreams a lot.
Well, that actually happens. That's been a thing since Fate Stay Night, and guess what? You have a lot of fucking servants. Whoops. All right, we're over an hour, so let's go ahead and talk about Miu real quick.
Miu, yes.
So Miu got released. She's an SR caster. She's notably got a pretty high HP, and her attack is pretty average. It's not super low for that class, so that's okay. She's quick, arts buster, as you might expect. She does have pretty minimal hit counts, which kind of hurts, though her buster is 3 hit. That's unusual, so that's kind of neat. Her first skill is a very basic self-arts and crits buff for 3 turns up to 30%, 5-turn cooldown. Also notable, her critical buff only lasts for 3 attacks where it actually procs. But, if a caster is critting, that means you're probably doing something to make her crit anyway, so it's not a huge deal. Her second skill gives her a decent guts, like decent duration and actual amount of heal. And then also gives her 1 turn of debuff immunity, which is pretty good. And then her third skill is a targetable up to 30% NP battery, and buff success up to 40% for 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. That's got a very useful synergy. So basically, anybody who's got a percentage-based buff, she can slap it on them and they can function. The 3 turns is probably going to go to waste without some kind of like Tamamo shenanigans to reduce the skill cooldowns, except on Hans, because his NP buffs are chance-based. So if you're doing some weird Hans strats, Miyu can really help with that. Also, it's a 30% NP battery, and NP batteries are great. Here's the problem, though. Her NP is a bit weird. It gives her the buff Protection of the New Moon, which, in exchange for 3k HP, so basically she loses 3k HP on use of the NP and gains this clock buff, which is Protection of the New Moon, which the buff heals every party member per turn. And the HP amount is based on NP level, 500 base. It gives 10% NP gauge for 3 turns, and also gives stars per turn based on overcharge, 5 base. The general consensus is that this NP is bad. It's basically like a pocket Merlin, but she doesn't have nearly as much team-wide synergy, and her demerit strongly prevents her from spamming her NP. At NP level 1, she gets about half of the HP she spends on her demerit back. At NP level 5, she will, over the course of 3 turns, heal the entire demerit, but you will not actually go past that. So if you're taking damage, you're still losing HP. Otherwise, it's not bad. It just, you cannot use it as much as you like, which is really a shame, because she's very much set up to spam her NP. She will burn out fast doing that. I think the 3k at like max HP comes to about a quarter of her HP per NP, so you're looking at about 4-ish uses before she's done. She does have a guts, which will bring her back, but still. With a team, she can make some absurd stall strategies, like pair her with Merlin, pair her with like Mash or something, to just be like, no, you don't hurt me, yes, we're healing loads of HP, but it's still a stall strat.
Like, honestly, like, the only thing I can really do is you need to fucking pair with servants that also, like, do, like, heal over time.
Yeah. Heal over time or big heals at once. Like
Jean, Tamamo.
Irie. I know that a lot of people say that Irie's healing is substandard, but she does also have a guts effect on there, so, which I think works in this case because you're taking a big chunk of her HP away at once, but if you guts through it, you can come back. Hans would also be good because he does heal per turn, and you can up his percentage base. The question is just, why are you fueling Miyu to be alive? Is it like, are you running with another hitter, but then does Miyu actually contribute to that? So she's kind of like she's a little diverse in her skills, which makes her not optimized, which is kind of a pain. Because on paper, a lot of her effects are very similar to Merlin, like we said. Basically, everyone agrees she needs an NP buff, like, right now. I would say, like, maybe double her healing amount, or a flat amount of healing increase by, like, 500 or something, so that she actually heals herself totally on NP level 1, and at higher NP levels can actually regain HP, so it's not a huge deal.
I'd say half of the merit.
Yeah, less HP down could also work, because that would also be the same effect, basically.
Yeah.
Or some kind of other thing. Because Ilya kind of has her own, like, she has extra reach rounds, like, she's gotten buffs to make her chance of preventing her debuffs better. By the way, yes, no, there's totally synergy with your friends, Chloe and Ilya here, because Ilya has a success-based buff, her guts, and debuff immunity is a percentage-based proc. Miyu has her own guts. Her ability to heal and generate NP and stars helps with NP spam. That's something that Ilya's a little slow with, and that Chloe's really good at. Oh, and hey, Chloe has a crit up skill, and so she'll appreciate free stars as an archer. So you can build the magical girl team, and it has actual synergy. The problem is that Miyu's gonna meet, like, 5 minutes into the episode, Miyu's gonna fall over dead. And, like, she's gonna be gone for the remaining, like, 15 minutes of the episode. So yeah, no, it's an interesting. Her only passives are magic resistance and then a 4% NP per turn, which is 1% better than Ilya. Interesting. Yeah, and that means no, she doesn't have any item creation or territory creation. So as a caster, she's built a little weird. I feel like she might be an older design that they've been holding on until the rerun came up, because she really does not smack me as much of a smooth running machine as lots of other modern servants are, even in terms of like gimmicks, right? Because you could totally build a Merlin who's not broken. Arguably, Mew's an example of that. But you could have built her with slightly more focus or slightly more specific buffs so that she actually seems to fit a niche well. Her current kit is just kind of confused, which makes her, as we like to say, suboptimal.
Not bad.
Her animations are really, really cool, though. She has like a gay bulg animation. She turns her mystic code into a gay bulg using the Lancer card and throws it at people. Stuff like that. It's fun.
Yeah, remember, these girls equip class cards, which means they become servants, which is cool.
Which is cool, because that's Ilya's new... Is that her? I think her Buster attack is she gets...
Hercules' axe, I believe.
Yeah, Herc's sword axe, and smashes people, and shouts Berserker.
Yeah.
It's adorable. Oh, actually, did we mention the costume thing on air?
Oh, no, we haven't.
That's right, we completely forgot.
You were going to mention it. You're going to mention it.
Yeah, so, this is actually an interesting thing, because we don't have any real news about the Prisma, the reinstall, even though it's happening, because, well, there's not really any news. The only thing I think that's notable so far is that we know that there is a costume for Ilya in the store because it is advertised, and I believe it is called Testament. But I have not seen any pictures of the sprites or what the art looks like or anything. So I don't, and nobody's talked about it being time locked or like it's max locked to a certain drop you can only get after going so far in the story. So I don't know. Like, if anybody has any details on the costume, please let me know. If you have actual pictures, go ahead and share them with me, because I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on. Is it an actual Testament costume? It sure sounds like, but like I said, I can't see anything. Nobody's really been posting it in our Discord or on Reddit or anything, so I don't know. We are super interested, though. Also, there's been some jokes rolling around, which actually are like high-level references, because at some cases, Chloe's the shopkeeper, and occasionally she shows up in what people have pegged as Tombo Cat's apron.
What?
Yeah. So there's some. First of all, that's a very meta reference because, hey, guess what? Chloe and Tomo have the same VA.
Mm-hmm.
But also just there's hilarious jokes about Chloe stole it off Cat. So poor Cat is now naked somewhere with no apron.
Honestly, she probably doesn't mind.
I don't know if she noticed the difference. Cat's a bit nuts. All right, so Lucky, we're at an hour and 15 minutes. Obviously, you're not editing these in full anymore, so it's not like any skin off your nose. But we do have Teach Me Omega Sensei scripted. Do you want to go ahead and run through all that, or do you think we should leave that for another episode? Because we're gonna have to do a lot of talking tomorrow and probably Sunday.
Well, I said if we wait till next week, it's gonna be the new fucking month. So
technically, just barely.
Barely.
All right.
I don't know.
Right. I mean, you do have a point, because technically it's supposed to be a monthly topic poll.
Yeah.
And the topic would be gone the month, so we can go ahead and do it. I was just wondering about timing and stuff. All right.
Yeah, it's not going to take too long. I don't think we have anything on the back.
There's absolutely no back end. Like, guess what? We've already told you what we're going to talk about next week, because Albert already told us what upcoming events are, so.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? Next week, which our next episode will be recorded on the 1st, which is why we're saying that it'll be a new month by the time we do the topic. That means that 5 million downloads will have started, etc., etc. So everybody wish me luck on rolling Da Vinci with tickets. But, everybody, let's step down into Teach Me Omega Sensei, the regular segment, the once a month at least segment about exposition and stuff. This is a...
Lucky's gonna wander off for a minute.
Yeah. Lucky's gonna go read manga. But basically, what we do here is every month we run a Patreon poll for our $5 and up patrons, which you can sign up for at any time, if you're at that level. And we quiz people about various topics, about what they want us to talk about. And whatever wins the poll, because it's Teach Me Omega Sensei, and I'm the one doing all the research and focus. Now to say that Lucky couldn't write these, but that's definitely not his style. So I write them, I give them, I do all the research, and throw these up. And they basically cover whatever topic people think they want to talk about. This month's winner, I was going to say this week, which is true, but also this month, is what are extra classes? And at the start of the new month, I'll open up a new poll, which we'll poll for the remaining ones. We've got stuff like, what's the Mage Association? What are people's origins? You know, questions about the Beasts or Grand Servants. So, and if you have any suggestions for exposition topics, we are glad to take them. Leave them in the comments. But do try to keep them, like, Fate or FGO focused. Like, some people have wanted us to answer questions that are more, like, Tsukihime related and stuff, and it's like, we're not against that, but that's not really our bag. So, you know, feel free to look elsewhere for those answers. And we also try and keep them in context of FGO. So, let me just crack my neck, prep my fingers. They might actually want to shut up on mic. Let's dive into what the fuck is an extra class. So, we've in general talked about class containers before, and servants. So, we've kind of talked about extras. We've kind of talked about the class containers and, like, how they work. But this is specifically about the ones that show up in FGO and kind of what their deal is, because an extra class is basically any servant class which does not fall into the standard 7 format of the original Holy Grail War. So there's basically anything which could theoretically be classed as a servant in a type of container that doesn't follow the same rules. Because the Fuyuki Grail was supposed to be very picky, and then somebody broke it. It was the Einsburns. We're going to talk about them breaking stuff quite a couple of times in here, actually. If you look at most examples of extra classes, which are listed on, like, the Type Moon Wiki or other places as sources, most of them are either parodies or otherwise not serious. Like, lots of jokes or alternate names or talk about a class. Lots of other, you know, weird gags that don't make any sense. Like, in CCC, Karna's master, because of his weird abilities, renames him from Lancer to Launcher just because she's making a joke, but the game treats that as a whole thing, right? So, even some of these serious ones are mostly hypothetical and so otherwise not detailed, so there's going to be a lot of, like, in FGO, we have Shielder, Ruler, Avenger, Alter Ego, Moon Cancer, and Foreigner as our extra classes. And I actually had to remember that MASH technically counts as a shielder. And God knows what else they'll add. They like fucking up the class affinity all the time. Other TM works have used or mentioned extra classes such as Saver, Gunner, Watcher, Faker, Funny Vamp, etc. These are almost always one-offs.
I've always personally, like, felt that Saver could actually be, like, a real thing, but
it totally could. They just haven't used it since Extra.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Like, I've having dug into a lot of examples, there are actually a couple that aren't yet used in FGO that probably could be, I think, if they wanted to, but we'll talk about that at the end. So like I said, most of these are just one-offs or just concepts that aren't really used. And so FGO obviously being a gacha type game where you have to, like, RNG roll your servants, they don't really play by those rules. So basically what we're going to do now is I'm going to break down some details on all the extra classes that appear at FGO and kind of what their deal is supposed to be. So Shielder is just Heroic Spirit of the Shield. Counterpart to core classes, which was not originally in the Holy Grail War, but is otherwise not really different from, say, Saber or Archer, right? Like, Saber is Heroic Spirit of the Sword. Lancer would be Heroic Spirit of the Spear, or something. MASH is not the only possible shielder, as several other heroic spirits could be qualified in that container due to owning legendary shields or other things. Ajax has mentioned the owner of Roaius. Achilles has a shield. Leonidas has a shield and defensive tactics, so he could be a shielder if they wanted. I don't know if there will ever be any shielders who aren't MASH, just because it's kind of her unique role besides her zero cost. And other, you know, kind of story-based gimmicks is just the fact that she is the shielder. She is the only character with absolute neutral class affinity. I don't know if they'd want to play around with that. Like, I suspect at some point they'd make, like, a 5-star version of MASH, because she's already been upgraded from 3 to 4 stars, so that could be cool, but, I don't know. And I think Shielder actually is from like the one of the early versions of Fate Stay Night was supposed to have a rogue servant who was called Shielder, but they cut it out, so now she's not part of the Core 7 classes. Avenger is the heroic spirit of vengeance. It's originally a class exclusively for Anger Manu, as he appears in the FSN timeline and his various forms thereof, as it was created kind of by an X-point in the Fuyuki Grail system. And yes, this is meant to be that originally the only Avenger ever was Anger Manu. We're gonna come back to this. No, I will not let that go. Obviously, later works kind of expanded this to be a recurring extra class. I believe anything using the Fuyuki system originally has to be like related to Anger Manu, but obviously different summoning systems use different rules. There's no real qualifying mark for an Avenger other than the deep desire for revenge in their heart, and by definition, most of them are anti-heroes. So, current rate-up buddy, Edmond Dantes, is a great example. The story, The Count of Monte Cristo, is a epic revenge tale, which talks completely about his obsession with righteous vengeance, and, kind of is a classical anti-hero story, which is ultra popular.
The thing I've noticed about most Avengers is usually they've been fucked royally by humanity in some form or fashion.
Yeah. That's kind of like that vengeance thing. They have unique class skills to never forget grudges. Literally, an Avenger never forgets. And to accumulate hatred and resentment and turn it into power. I think, Dantes has, his skill description of the Avenger skill is any negative emotions or thoughts directed at him immediately turn into more power for him. So, that's you see that a lot. That's really all there is to the mechanics of Avenger. It started as a very specific, clicky thing, and that was expanded to make more interesting characters, and otherwise is really very loosely defined is what it does. They're just heroic spirits of vengeance. Are you angry about stuff? You can be an Avenger. Ruler is the heroic spirit of arbitration, and these are actually a little bit more strictly defined. So, the class was originally formulated as a way for the Holy Grail to protect itself from outside interference and prevent servants from breaking the fundamental rules of the war, though they could be summoned into the war itself through exploits. But basically, Ruler is a class that's embedded in the Grail summoning, the Holy Grail War system, and if anything was to happen where either heroic spirits were to break the fundamental rules, the dead cannot leave the living and that kind of stuff, or otherwise interfere with the modern world, or external sources were to come in and interfere, a ruler would appear and arbitrate this. The qualifications for a ruler is that they must possess impartiality and have no desire for the Holy Grail. Amakusa's kind of an outlier here, but this seems to be a result of his improper summoning, similar to the issue of Angra. The Einsburns cheated by trying to summon an extra-class servant to win the Holy Grail War, which is why they got an apocryphal saint who actually is not truly impartial. At least as far as the Holy Grail is concerned.
I don't know. I don't think he didn't have a wish for... I think it's because maybe. I would say because he didn't have a wish for himself, but a wish for humanity.
Yeah, but he is definitely not necessarily impartial. He wants to win the Holy Grail to do stuff with it. Whereas lots of other class rulers are I don't really care about the Grail part. These are usually drawn from saints, but this is not a strict rule. This is similar to how the original rule for assassins was they had to be one of the 18 or whatever, Hassan, the old men of the mountain kind of thing. But obviously, because that's super limiting, we kind of got away from that as time went on. Rulers are equipped with high levels of magic resistance to prevent interference, true name discernment to immediately identify servants, and additional command spells in order to control heroic spirits. So, they have extra anti-servant powers granted them by the Grail in order to do their thing. FGO rulers have kind of gotten away with this, or gotten away from this. Sherlock, though his Noble Phantasm can substitute, but Sherlock's an interesting case because as a ruler, he is basically forced into that class. He was, how we talked about how rulers are supposed to prevent, heroic spirits from fucking with human order and unraveling stuff? Well, basically, Sherlock was made a ruler, so he couldn't do that. He was promoted into a position where he could no longer fuck things up, which is kind of a funny way to take the ruler concept. But Ketz is a Santa, so I don't fucking know. Also, I think at some point, I don't know if it's like in a Matt's note or if she showed up as like an NPC or something, but supposedly BB can be a ruler too if she feels like it. I don't know. BB's weird. We'll talk about that in a second. Alter Ego is an unusual existence. They are an entity which has been split off from another spirit origin and altered. Funny how that works. It is important to note Alter Ego is both the name of a class container and used to describe the method by which they are made. So somebody can be an Alter Ego while being summoned in a different servant class. See Tamamo Cat. Also, everybody's like, Tamamovich, people are talking about her as like an Alter Ego in the story, but we're pretty sure she's the Tamamo who's the assassin one, so... Mm-hmm. And it's not like they're gonna snowball you, it's friggin' assassin card. They went out of their way to make a promo for an assassin that was her, so... I'm pretty sure when she's summonable, she's gonna be an assassin. But she is also called Alter Ego because, as one of the Tamamo 9, that's how she was made. Alter Egos otherwise don't really have any required qualifications or special abilities which are unique to them. They are a highly flexible clash by nature. They include the Sakura 5 and the Tamamo 9, etc. Characters who are Alter Egos are basically deliberate forks of another character altered from their spirit origin. So, like, the playable Kiara is this. She is a fork from the antagonist one we see in the CCC event, etc. And so they aren't a strict set of rules. And like I said, characters can be Alter Egos without being in that class, so it's kind of a weird thing. Don't ask me why they decided to write it that way. So Moon Cancer is the class of the irregular who threatens the moon. It has mostly, I think, been applied to just BB in various incarnations, but there's at least one case of where it's appeared on Kiara as a boss fight. I don't know if there was anything else, any other situations where that sort of thing has happened. And much like Avenger, this is probably not going to stay exclusive to BB as the franchise goes on. The way it's described, at least in my reading, is not... While Moon Cancer references how BB was created, at the same time, a lot of description is just an irregularity which threatens the moon cell in, brackets, because it's not explicitly written there, but you know what I mean. I've talked about this before. Velber agents and Extella have been described as both threatening the moon cell and have been described as spreading like a disease, multiplying like a cancer, etc. So there's a lot of cases, I think, where they could apply the Moon Cancer class in different ways. And also, as noted, this is fate. Like I said, I joked about this, but you could totally split off a timeline and be like, what if CCC happened, but it wasn't the BB AI, it was some other AI, and it's not BB, it's another one, and they're the Moon Cancer. This is a universe with multiple timelines, guys. You can't fucking make anybody exclusive anything.
They actually mentioned this recently about... Oh yeah, actually it was in the Orion interlude when Orion was all like, am I in another timeline? Shit! So they fully are aware that, weird shit can happen. It can cross over.
Through different timelines, Shiro is both Prisma Ilia's brother and also Miyu's brother. Think characters can fill the same roles across different timelines, okay? Just much like FGO can completely make up characters, classes, etc., don't feel like Moon Cancer can stay exclusively BB. So far it has been, but for their first couple Alter Egos were both members of the Sakura 5, which were the only canonical examples of that, until they suddenly decided to come out of nowhere with Kiara, right away. So,
Let's not forget Mecha Liz.
There's also that, which is, completely absurd. Mecha Liz's are Alter Egos, I think, because Asakawa Hime made robot copies of Liz. They're a Mecha Godzilla reference, basically. So, you might want to think that the rules of the Fate setting are set in stone, and you can completely understand, who does what and who's unique and whatnot. It's not. It's really not. We've said this before. The more unique somebody is, the more likely they're to get a copy, because that's cool. We want to do cool stuff with characters. Anyway, Foreigner is the visitor from the empty void. They are a character whose primary qualification is to define the madness that occurs when one encounters an outer god. The way they're described, I think this was in Hokusai's Trial Quest, is basically there's two ways this works. Either they retain their identity even while insane, or they consume and internalize the madness themselves. They don't necessarily go crazy, but they stay functional and assimilate the madness. That's what Hokusai is like, because Octodad was already too crazy about art to be driven mad by seeing Cthulhu. Also, actually, I don't think it's necessarily marketing and money, it's also just writing. Like, Alcades in Strange Fake is part Archer, part Avenger, because, I don't know, he's cooler and edgier that way. Like, that's all a writing thing. So it's not just that we want to make more units to sell, but also just remember, every single servant is developed by a scenario writer and drawn by an artist and goes through all those steps. So sometimes authors just want to do something cool for themselves and make it work, and sometimes Nasu lets them. That's why we have Santa Saber, because Takeuchi drew Santa Saber art, and Nasu was like, fund it, make it. Where was it? Oh, a Foreigner. So they draw their power from outside the human order and outside our universe. They have a unique class skill, which is called Existence Outside of the Domain, but is not explained at this time. They tend to be connected to a specific outer god, but not necessarily. Like, MHXX obviously is a Foreigner because she's literally from space. That's just how that works. This is the newest class, originally created for FGO, though it's being used in other works. Fate Requiem has confirmed that Foreigner Euclid is at least name-dropped, which is pretty cool.
The way I always understood Foreigner is they're connected to something that exists outside human understanding.
Yes. I think that's what existence outside the domain is supposed to reflect, but like I said, there's no description of this skill yet, so we don't know.
Yeah.
Foreigners are the big question mark right now, just because the game has not chosen to elaborate on them.
And it's like, because you can say what you want about, like, gods and magic and all that stuff. Like, people still, they still, like, understand and get this.
Yeah, those are all still human concepts made by humans. You were saying about Outer Gods, Lucky? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, but, like, I mean, that's, Outer Gods, like, if people want to get technical, people can say, but Outer Gods are still a human concept. Because, we got our whole, Cthulhu mythos with H.P. Lovecraft. But, I think that's, like, trying to nitpick a little too hard.
Well, because also that's getting too meta, because also I mean these are fictional characters inside a human written story, but they're supposed to reflect the idea of stuff that is beyond human understanding, right? Like some of these creatures or entities can personify forces or natures which are fundamental to the universe, and we don't understand. The Trail of Cthulhu rulebook actually has a really great idea where it presents a lot of major outer and elder gods as like multiple bullet point choices that you can pick from, where like they can be associated with classical elements, they can be associated with fundamental forces like gravity, electromagnetism, etc. And like, so yeah, on one hand, Shub Niggurath is the black goat of the woods of 1,000 young, but also he, she, it is a formless cloud of blackness, but also is the personification of nuclear fission. So, yeah, no, like, these are abstract entities that are outside our understanding, in origin, anyway. But yeah, Foreigner's a big question mark right now. And then, most other extra classes are too vague or jokey to be used. I think that Saver, Heroic Spirit of Salvation, is a possible contender. That was the boss class for the original extra, which has not yet been used again. Though Kiara harkens to that, but it's more of like a subverted theme, like the sequel contrasts and compares to the original kind of thing. There's only one official Saver, though they say that Kiara could qualify, so I don't know, hey, Summer Kiara Saver. Maybe she can not be a complete asshole. Just saying.
Well, like I said, like, as Saver, I can understand the concept of someone who has, like...
Yeah, like, they're called the Heroic Spirit of Salvation, right? The example is, to put a bit of a spoiler on extra, but we warned you, the only canonical Saver so far is the Buddha. The original Buddha. The, figure who founded a religious and spiritual movement on attaining enlightenment, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can rock that. There are plenty of messianic figures in mythology and history.
Oh, yeah.
And as pointed out, theoretically, if Kiara wasn't such a shit person who constantly fell into darkness, she could be a messiah, but she's too much of a fuck-up. By the way, guys, I don't like Kiara. Maybe there's a timeline. Every time we bump into a Kiara, she's still a fuck up, though. Like, you can't even say that about BB. The version of BB who appears in FGO is not the same character. So, you know, you can say that one is actually chaotic good because she's got kind of a different format, right? Also, that's not entirely true, X, but we'll talk about that. That is actually a spoiler for future events that I don't want to enumerate because Lucky is right here.
What?
Nothing. It's no big deal. The other one that's interesting, that only has one member so far is Faker, the heroic spirit of imitation. No, it's not Emiya, by the way. They totally took that as a joke, but they turned it into an actual thing. I don't want to talk too much detail about it, or even necessarily where it's from, because I think it might be adapted soon. But the way that that's established, a heroic spirit class for counterfeits and body doubles and imitations, that could totally be a thing, right? You could totally rock that as a class with, like, definite rules. It's only been used once. Other stuff, I will say, I'm generally against. Like, I'm against adding, like, Gunner or Monster or Gatekeeper as being too vague and too much overlap. Like, oh yeah, Billy the Kid could be a Gunner, but also Gunner is really just, like, an abstract...
like a subdivision of Archer.
Yeah, it's like you could, and I think the only context for being a gunner is like, as a double class, as like, archers with guns also qualify as gunner, but they're still also archers.
I could, like, just brainstorm right now, the only reason I can see a gunner is something like more of a modern Grail War, where servant classes have degraded so that, like, weaker servants could be becoming a thing.
Yeah, you could, like, turn that into a thing, but I don't think for FGO it works.
Yeah, not for FGO, no. That has to be, like, its own separate thing. It's something I can think could be a well-thought-out thing, but not for the system that we have now.
Yeah. And also, X, you mentioned that Monster might make a good thing as a joke enemy. You say that, actually, Monster was what Shiki's class was as a bonus boss in Extra. But, obviously, Shiki appears as a summonal character in assassin format, so they went around that. Also, some you should just leave out for not being serious enough, like Funny Vamp. I know a couple of our community members have joked that when I don't even know how to pronounce Ark's full name. I'm sorry. I never got into Tsukihime, guys. It's because your anime doesn't exist and your VN's never being rewritten. I'm sorry. I hate to tell you the harsh truths, but that's how it is. But that's what her class is supposed to be in Extra, but she's recategorized as a berserker. I really feel like FGO would do me a solid for my blood pressure and me making the show and just make her a berserker, because much like Shiki, that just makes more sense and is easier to work with. Like, Consort U can be an assassin, then Ark could just be a berserker, guys. Don't fuck around with me. That's a pain in the ass. And actually, talking to Axe, one of our patrons who is active in our chat right now. You talked about Beast earlier. Here's my bullet point. Beast could also be interesting as a playable class mechanic, but technically each Beast is its own class in terms of weaknesses and strengths, even though they all use the same symbol and terminology. Like, Beast 1 has different class affinity than Beast 2, etc. Tiamat and her creations are, like, completely neutral all across the board. But Beast 1, Gatia, is the Demon Pillar class affinity, so it's like strong against knights, weak to cavalry.
If you want to know more about our Beast class, make sure you vote on that on our next poll.
Yeah, because that's one of our options, is to talk more about Beasts, where we'll explain some of the ones that have been named so far and kind of try and dig into what their deal is. But theoretically, even though they all have the same class icon, they they all have different affinities. All right, hold on a second. My phone keeps blowing up, so I'm going to go take care of that.
Yeah, so, again, extra classes, again, there are a whole bunch of outliers that don't fit into the regular summoning system, which basically were all used to fill some particular
That's why I sounded funny for those last, like, several minutes there, because my phone kept ringing. But it really shouldn't be ringing, because literally nobody has my new phone number, so... Whoever they think my phone number is for really needs to get in touch with that person. Anyway, that's all my notes on extra classes. Lucky, do you have any observations or questions about extra classes you would like to throw in there at the end?
Let's see here. Beast is something I'm super interested about, but because I feel like it could be an extra class, but again, like putting it into FGO, like kind of a weird thing. But this is also because I just want Tiamat.
Yeah,
Just-
honestly, like I've said this before, like the quote unquote demon pillar class, which is the reverse basically of the class affinity of alter egos for mechanical reasons, that'd be super interesting and good to have, right?
Yeah.
Whether that wants to literally be some kind of playable version of the beast class or something else, I don't know.
I personally would love to have like playable versions of Gotia and Tiamat and even Foe. I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that could be interesting to see.
But
also,
like
like,
again, but those are also like big
y-
story moments. So
yeah.
it's like I don't know.
Yeah, how do you handle that banner, right?
Yeah.
Because there'd have to be a
So-
summon banner promotion. How do you drop that knowing that some people haven't beat the... By the way, now you can summon the first boss before you even beat the whole game. Whoops.
Yep.
Well, yeah, Alter Ego's kind of a catch-all. It's a very specific origin, but then what that character does is completely up in the air.
Yeah, Alter Ego is a very broad category. Like, I think a lot of things can qualify for Alter Ego.
Honestly, the only reason why like swimsuit servants aren't Alter Ego is because they're not a separate spirit origin, but also they are kind of. So
they're a modified spirit.
Yeah, it's. I mean, yeah, but your game also records them as separate, and theoretically they have like Myriam dialogue, like talking to themselves. So, well, I don't know, one of the many huge shrug, or hands up, don't know what's going on. It's a whole thing, right? Honestly, because I didn't realize that Faker was a serious thing, because it's called Faker. And I can put this, if you want to know more, I can put this in, but also it's a thing for something that's gonna come out. So I don't know if you guys want to know more. I'll put it in Patreon chat.
Faker. What is it?
I will say where it's from.
Oh, that's why.
So if you
okay.
want me to go into more detail, I can, but it might be better left alone because I'm pretty sure this is what the arcs are going to cover in the thing that's being done.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I figure I'll let it sit off air. Axe is my friend on Discord. He can give me a direct message and I can throw it at him, or I can throw it in spoilers because I know Lucky never looks there. Because Lucky is smart.
Yeah,
but as a concept, as like a.
Oh wait, no. I'm gonna spoil myself because I'm curious now. Hang on,
well,
let me look at this.
You're gonna be interested. All right, I'll just get the image.
Yeah, no, I see Faker, and I'm just think automatically Alter Ego.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, right? But
yeah,
I don't know if they could totally do it as a separate thing.
Yeah.
Here,
Instead, I think Faker is just something. Faker, I think, is something that is too broad, and like you were saying, like things are like overlap. I think like Faker would overlap with Alter Ego.
Well, I don't know because they're not necessarily an actual copy of the servant. They are a fake version of them used to, or a body double, or like an imitation. But at the same time, like we've already had characters that are like that, and they've had normal ass classes like Jean Alter, Ku Alter, etc. So I don't know. We'll see.
I think
hey, guess what? Because we've mentioned what this is from, there might be a future FGO collab which answers this question.
That'd be good.
That'd be real good for lots of reasons. Oh boy. But if you're not afraid of spoilers, just go look up like on the Type Moon wiki like who the character of Faker is, and you'll see why. We're very interested. But
I spoiled myself on a little bit of case files, so that's why I was all like, oh, when I saw what it was, okay, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. And like we said, Saver's also sadly underutilized, but could be really interesting because
Saver I think is underutilized.
Like you could come up with multiple characters without answering the "is Jesus a servant?" question, and legitimately like figure out a class arrangement that works for that, like a class advantage that works for that character. Maybe they could be weak to foreigners because they're from outside the human domain, but they could be strong against like maybe like all the original extra class triangle, like ruler.
What are Alter Egos weak against?
Alter Egos, I don't think they take extra damage from any class but Berserker, but they deal less damage to Cavalry, I believe. I can go double check that real quick. Honestly, I never fucking remember. We're gonna have a huge pain in the ass when Alter Egos are actually a thing in game, because we're never going to remember how their class affinity works. Because it's a lot at once. Okay. No, I got it. It's right. It's the other way around. They deal 150% damage to Rider, Caster, and Assassin, and they deal half damage to Saber, Archer, and Lancer. So they deal extra damage to Cavalry, deal less damage to Knights, and they are strong against Berserk. Okay, hold on. This is confusing because of the way that fucking wiki. But I'll copy it and post it so you can read it and parse it yourself. I don't feel like saying it out loud. But basically, alter egos deal less damage to Knights. They deal more damage to Cavalry. They deal more damage to Foreigners and take less damage from Foreigners. So something that's strong against alter ego but weak to Foreigners, for instance, could make a triangle, which could make sense as Saver, right? Mostly because that means that Buddha would bully Kiara, which is canonical. So yeah, no, like you could do some interesting things with Saver, both as a character and as a class. Other stuff, I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, whatever the fuck Watcher or Gatekeeper is supposed to be. There's also been dumb jokes like calling, the Assassin is really the Manslayer class, or Bezette being jokingly called a boxer as she appears in like Capsule Servant or something. Like, there's lots of dumb jokes. And I think that's everything there is to say. We're at almost 2 hours somehow.
Yeah, I think we can call it good.
Some of this I think will get snipped out, so hopefully this audio isn't 2 hours. But let's go ahead and wind down. Do we have any final thoughts for this week?
Yeah, I got one. Guys, everyone, the Heavenfield, Part 2 tickets are now on sale. You can find them through Fathom Events and other things, so make sure you snap them up while you can. I bought my ticket, last night, and at like 1 a.m., and two other people already bought their tickets, so don't expect them to last too long.
Yep. So go ahead and pick those up. Also, now I know what Lucky was looking at while I talked a lot, because I'm seeing him retweet stuff.
Yeah.
That's a discussion for another time. Hey, join our Discord. You can find out what we were talking about.
I didn't post the same stuff on Twitter that I always talk about.
Anyway, let's go ahead and wind down and do the usual stuff. So hey, if you like this episode, give it a like. If you have any comments about any of the stuff we've talked about, go ahead and leave those in the comment section down below. And obviously, if you are new here and have not already, please subscribe to our channel so you always get our latest videos. And even if you're already subscribed, don't forget that bell for notifications so you can see when we post a video. Sorry if posting's been a little chaotic last week. I've been busy thinking and feeling stuff. I did get Wanted Dante's out, though, so you can check that out. I read a poem. That's the thing I do with Avengers, I guess. Hopefully you liked it. It seemed pretty popular. It's gotten up to reviews. Got to do something to be unique in me. And also, like it says at the front of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early. You can get the audio download for the episode for as little as $1 a month. That goes up basically right away as soon as we're done recording and editing. Also, like we said, you can join at the $5 and up tier and get access to next month's poll, where we will have, I outlined it earlier, but we can go over them again. It's, what is the Mages Association? What is a person's origin? What are the beasts? And what do we know about Grand Servants? And of course, if you have your suggestions for future topics, leave this in there. I kind of talked about that earlier, so go ahead and jump in. And as I mentioned just now, too, you can join our Discord. That link is in the description. We will see you guys next time for Let's Talk FGO. Also, look out for What's Up, where we will talk about lots of things that are not FGO, and we will talk a lot. Also, look out for, like, 2 months from now, a voice episode. It'll be, like, 2 months because him and his poor editor, who, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but you're cool, and I'm sorry. It's all Voice's fault.
I don't remember names to begin with.
No, I know. I'm terrible with names. We're all terrible with names. I'm lucky I remember my own name. But that'll be sometime in the future. We're going to shoot that tomorrow, hopefully. God knows when it's coming out, just because I know us. We're going to talk for forever.
And like halfway through, voicing it, be like, God, why did I do this?
Yeah. Why did you do this? Well, I know I did it, but we should probably leave that talk for off mic. I don't want to talk about his creative process while he's not here.
Yeah.
But he discussed with us why he wanted to do this collab with us. So there's a whole logic in it. It's just like I said, I don't want to talk about his creative process, quote unquote, behind his back, or at the very least, like an hour before he can listen to it. So we'll move on. Also look out for other videos. If you're interested in learning more about DaVinci, we did a Wanted DaVinci when she came out the first time. That video wasn't super popular at the time. Hopefully it gets more traction this time around. And just stay tuned for more stuff. All right, I think that's everything. Lucky, do you want to say something pithy?
No.
Okay. I would say something pithy, but I really have to cough.